Welcome back, Genshin Impact players. Today we're going to be talking about the Nilou Banner that literally just dropped, I think about 10 minutes ago or so I'm already a little bit late to the action. There's some really interesting things on this banner and on the weapon banner that we're going to want to take a look at just to decide what is kind of good about this banner, and if you're on the edge, hopefully this will make you have an easier time making an informed decision. So let's go ahead and check it out. If you just go over to notices, events, scroll all the way down, you have your banners. Now it still has the other banners up from Sino, but that's okay. All right, here we go. So this is going to be the Nilou Banner. So the Nilou Banner has 3 4-stars on it that you may or may not be familiar with, because 2 of these 4 stars you get for absolutely free. You get Barbara for free, and you get Xiangling for free once you beat Spiral Abyss floor 3, I think, chamber 3, whatever the order is on that one. And then you have Beto as well. So I have really mixed feelings about this banner, but it's not just the 4 stars, it's actually Nilou. Oh, and before we go on, also there's Albedo here. So if you are a Geo boy or a Geo fan, Albedo is back. So the deal is with Barbara, she's just a 4-star Hydro healer. I'm not gonna say she's incredibly good, because most of the time you're using her, it's because you don't have any other Hydro options. It's really hard for Hydro to be bad, so I can't really say she's bad, but I don't think she's particularly good. But then you also have Xiangling, who is kind of like the premier free-to-play Pyro DPS. So if you're not a Hu Tao haver or a Yoimiya haver or anything, Xiangling is kind of the go-to character for a lot of teams, and some people would say that Xiangling even determines a lot of the meta game around Genshin Impact. The best teams in the game, a lot of them feature Xiangling. So Xiangling's pretty good. Xiangling constellations are good. Beto is also a good unit and has found even more use with Aggravate as a thing. So Beto's one of the core units in Taser Comp. Taser Comp is one of the stronger comps in the game and very free to play accessible. It has only 4 stars to start off if you do like the most basic Taser roster. And she's also good with Sino, so if you happen to get him, Beto's actually pretty good. So overall, 2 of these units are actually very, very strong. You have Xiangling and Beto, which are just good pickups in general. Also, Beto's constellations are very valuable. C1 and C2 are very good. One of them is going to give you a shield when you use your burst. The other one is going to make it so your burst can bounce more times and deal a lot more damage. Now, as far as Nilou goes, Nilou is an interesting unit. I'm gonna say it straight up. If you're looking for a unit that's incredibly powerful and flexible, it's not Nilou. Nilou is not going to be a bad unit, but she is going to be one of those few characters that requires a certain set of other characters in order to be competitive with other good teams. And I don't even mean top teams, I just mean good teams. That being said, this isn't a review on whether or not to pull for Nilou, because I can't give you that information until she officially releases, but I can say that if you're on the edge about pulling for Nilou because you think she's going to be meta defining, she is going to be a character that can be very strong if you have 2 very specific 5 stars, which are going to be Kokomi and likely the Dendro Archon. So take that info as you will. Barbara is going to be sort of a copium filler unit for Nilou. Nilou, honestly, to me, seems kind of like bougie Barbara, like you have a little bit of a fancier thing going on. She gets the aqua ring around her. So basically, the main thing I wanted to say for this banner is don't be fooled. Don't get tricked into thinking that these 3 4-stars that are on Nilou's banner can make a solid Nilou team. Nilou is not going to be a character that you're going to want to play with Vape. Nilou is also not a character that's going to be a super insane improvement in something like Taser either. So likely Beto and Xiangling won't really see play with Nilou. Barbara might see play with Nilou, but in her best teams, the assumption is going to be that Xingqiu Yelan are going to be the 2 other Hydras that go with her. So that being said, if you need Xiangling constellations and you need Beto constellations and you want Nilou or Albedo, this is a perfect banner for you. But in terms of 5-star pull value and the 4-star pull value, it's like 2 out of 3 of these characters are very good, and you should only really pull on this banner, in my opinion, if you want the 5-star. I don't think this is worth going in for the 4 stars. However, we do have one interesting thing that came up on the weapon banner. Now, let me show you guys something cool. Over here, we have Nilou's weapon. So if you plan on getting Nilou, obviously this is going to be a good weapon for her. But also, we have Primordial Jade Cutter. Now, if you don't know what Jade Cutter does, it basically gives you attack based off of your HP, and it gives you a slightly higher HP, and it has 44 crit rate on it at level 90, which is insane. It's a very strong weapon, and honestly, a lot of characters can use it and use it pretty well. Some people like to say that freeze comps don't use it because it has too much crit rate. Having too much crit rate is not a bad thing. You're not going to get as much value out of it as you would Miss Splitter in a freeze team. However, the stat is still good, and the effect of the weapon and the attack it gives is still really solid. So basically, the way I see this banner is if you're planning on getting Nilou, this weapon banner could be pretty good. And the reason I say this is because it has their signature weapon on it, obviously, but it has Jade Cutter, which is also going to be a pseudo option for Nilou. And it also will work on Xingqiu, it works on Kuxing, any sort of MC variant that you're trying to make deal damage. I like Geo MC. Lee, Kaya, Ayaka. I mean, honestly, almost any sword user could use it. I wouldn't recommend Bennett because the base attack itself is a little low. But both of these weapons are very, very good. But Jade Cutter is a just very good weapon overall, and Nilou's signature weapons on here. So if you wanted to get that, these two are pretty good value if you're getting Nilou. But the other reason I want to talk about this banner is actually because of the other weapons that are featured on it. So let me show you something. Gamers, they have not put out the graphic for Zephos Moonlight or for the Catalyst that is now out, Wandering Evenstar. But Zephos Moonlight is an insanely good weapon, and I can't talk about it too much in detail, but we're looking at a potential upgrade for Favonius on a couple different characters with that sword. So if you have Kazuha, this is going to be a very, very solid weapon for him, and I'll likely make a video on it separately later just to explain in better detail about it, but it's looking very, very good. Catalyst is pretty all right. As we always say, Catalysts always have a harder time because Thrilling Tales exists, and that's such a solid weapon, and there's so many other solid Catalyst options that any new Catalyst that comes into the fray has to be amazing for it to be like super worth a pickup. Rain Slasher, not so much. Dragon's Bane is pretty dang good, useful on a lot of characters. Sacrificial Bow is pretty useful on support characters. If you want to use it on someone like Diona, that can find a lot of use, and even on Kale just for energy generation. So all in all, the weapon banner, I would say the 4 stars, like Zephos is really good and a super solid weapon. Sacrificial Bow doesn't hurt to have. Dragon's Bane definitely doesn't hurt to have. And if you're pulling for Nilou, this is kind of an overall, like all in all win banner. This is like a super amazing banner. And I would definitely say if you are satisfied with all the characters you have and you don't feel like you need anyone in the future, which I would definitely say you're going to need someone in the near future very, very badly, it's not a bad banner to pull on. However, if you're not pulling for Nilou, I would stay away from this banner because this weapon right here, Nilou's signature weapon, is going to be HP scaling like Nilou, and that's going to be very, very hard to build on another sword character. So just keep that in mind. But all in all, gamers, this banner looks very interesting to say the least. We have the 2 decent 4 stars, and we have Nilou, who I personally feel like is going to be a character that is not worth getting from a meta standpoint unless you plan on getting the other characters that you need to run with her. And unfortunately, the time for one of those is past, so you would need to wait for a rerun. That said, if you want to pull for the pretty girl, just do it. I can't stop you. So Albedo is a super solid unit now if you have Cinnabar Spindle, but if you don't have Cinnabar Spindle and you don't have Ito, whether or not you pull for Albedo for meta purposes is kind of iffy. I personally would say without Cinnabar Spindle and without Ito, or just a Geo team that you really, really want to focus on, he's pretty all right. Like, he's a decent unit. I would say Albedo is definitely underrated. However, that doesn't necessarily mean he's like an amazing broken unit that you need to have right now. I would definitely consider, do I have Ito? Do I have Cinnabar Spindle? But anyways, that's about it for this video. I just wanted to talk about the new banners and the value that they bring. If you guys have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like down below. It lets me know that I should keep doing them, and it tells YouTube the video doesn't suck. If you guys want to catch me live, I'm live at twitch.tv/Braxophone. I'll be live streaming here soon. Just got finished with my move, and everything's going super well. So can't wait to show you guys Nilou, and I'll catch you next time.